And you're just in time for Richard Mwenja exclusive, almost coming to the end of November, the year of our Lord 2024. We say thank you for always keeping us company here on this particular show, and also the many times you've tuned in to our many other editions on this channel with Jadiel Kabir, Evans Okinyi, and yours truly, Professor Herman Manyora. I'm Richard Mwenja. Welcome to the conversation, and today we continue unpacking conversations that are shaping Kenya's political and governance landscape. But first things first, let me bring Prof to your screens. How are you doing today, sir?
Good.
You're well? Laid back in the Christmas mood?
And thanking God for every ounce of breath and life. Yes.
All right. We also thank him for the many graces he extended to us as a channel, right?
Thank you.
All right, that of the way, sir. Today I want us to look at the rule of the thumb when it comes to the making of a presidential candidate in this country. And let's unpack some of the myths therein. And how about we start from probably the reality or fallacy? Is it true that for anyone who aspires to be the president must first be within the current political formations in this country? Anyone outside the current political formations is just probably daydream when it comes to presidential bids?
Well, you must be somebody, you must be identified with some political formation. Or you must have the muscle to come up with one, like Ruto did with UDA and the Kenya Kwanza.
All right.
But naturally, yes, it is still very difficult for people outside political formations to have an impact. But I think we are getting to a point where an independent candidate can make it in this country. We are almost getting there.
We're almost getting there.
Yeah, because people are getting fed up with these political parties. Yeah.
Hi, welcome to Hybrid School. My school, a reputable institution, an epitome of learning. It offers high-quality education.
Ithibati.
A standard library with pleasant environment for reading. An art club, a home science club, a computer club with vivacious lessons. Our fully equipped laboratory is top-notch, with standard 2 in core curricular activities. Swimming, karate, table tennis, netball, basketball, volleyball, just to mention but a few.
To enroll your child, contact us through 0728 040 883 or 0770 587 921. High Peak Schools, quest for excellence.
Talking about independent candidates who are likely gonna throw themselves on this ring in 2027, one that has been open about it is former CS Interior Fred Okango Matiang'i. And this far, as part of the steps to realize that dream, you've seen revelations that he has already outsourced the services of globally renowned lobbyists to help him set up really formidable campaign machinery to realize the presidential bid in 2027. For people like Matiang'i, do you think they can be the closest people to bring this independent candidate into presidency in 2027? If you look at the review period over the last 30 years, we've never seen such a person coming from the outside and taking the seat.
Yeah, and it's more or less what happened in Senegal, in El Salvador, and one or two, three other places. It's not necessarily independent in the sense you come as an independent candidate. It would be independent in the sense that you could come with a fairly unknown party. You pick an outfit, unknown, and use it. Much in the same way Simeon Nyachai in 1992 picked Ford people, you know, and tried to use it. Yeah.
And for those who probably are banking on the Gen Z to ride them into the presidential seat in 2027 or even thereafter, I want to understand from your optic, is Gen Z a political constituency this far?
It is, going by what happened mid this year, especially June. It looks obvious that they will not be sitting idle, watching, standing by as people mess their country. As people pollute the politics of this land that would then affect their future more than us. So I see them participating much more than has been in the past. Yes.
If Fred Matiang'i indeed goes for the presidential seat in 2027, At this time, we are looking at President Ruto trying to court the Western Bloc, the Nyanza Bloc, now that Mount Kenya seems to have slipped from his hand.
Yes.
So does that mean that it will be even more doom for the president should Matiang'i throw himself to the ring in 2027?
Well, yeah, Matiang'i is making serious calculations. Matiang'i, I think, knows there is a gap. There's some vacuum. There is a sizable population of people in this country who believe neither the current opposition as structured nor the leadership of the country. So they don't believe in the Ruto, Raila axis. They also don't see much hope coming from the Kalonzo, the so-called opposition. So there's this gap. And this would be where the Gen Zs would fall, and Kenyans who still have hope that this country can be redeemed. I think that's the kind of gap Matiang'i would want to fill. So it's, well, but it's still true that if he stands, and this is being Kenya, many of the people who would have voted for Ruto from his home, that is in Kisii, will certainly vote for Matiang'i. So that dwindles. That eats into Ruto's numbers. Yeah.
Clearly said that there, Prof. And if you look at the trend this far, more specifically in Africa, the one-term presidency is seemingly becoming a reality by the day. And we want to understand, for President Ruto to beat such a fate from coming his way, what should be that cardinal rule that he should tap into going forth?
I think for Ruto, everything was going for him, then he decided to drive in the opposite direction. After being sworn in, and regardless of what had happened and so on and so forth, he looked set to be re-elected without any opposition. I don't know why he got this idea that you had to fix everything. Americans are very clear. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. So he was now running all over the country trying to fix things that were not broken. The politics was in his favor. So all that Ruto will need to do is to go back to 2023, beginnings of 2023, and just look at the steps. Do the right things. For Ruto, it's just a question of doing the right things. And he knows them. It will not take a year for people to say, well, what do we want with Ruto? He's okay. He's an okay guy. Yeah.
I get it. Often
because he knows those things Kenyans are talking about. It's not like they are hidden from him.
He's aware of the realities.
He knows.
Down there.
He knows in university education, just remove that thing called this new funding.
Funding model.
Yeah, remove it. Either revert to the old one, but ideally you can say, let students get free education. Because this is a third world country. He knows this thing of shift share. He knows the games that are being played. He knows there's nothing really about it.
Even with the rebranding on board?
No, it's just a joke. He knows it.
The Taifa Care?
He knows everything is a joke. He knows. It's not that he doesn't know. He knows. In fact, he can do better than that. He can go to the ideal, which is use the infrastructure that we have created and that we inherited from Zungu in terms of those hospitals, all the way from King George's Hospital, Kenyatta National Hospital, and other referral hospitals, all the way down to dispensaries. Very few countries have that kind of infrastructure. Very few countries have the level of manpower we have. Doctors, nurses, clinical clinicians, laboratory, all those people, orthopedic technicians, all those, we have them. Many countries don't have them. Bring them on board, pay them well, take care of their welfare, and let Kenyans get free education. You know, Ruto can do that because you don't need much more money than there is allocated to health today to do that. Let's say the money people pay to NHIF and what government allocates, let's say is about 200 billion. Just,
sure.
Yeah, I've forgotten the figures, but I know the figures, but now I can't remember. To give free education, free health care in this country, you don't need much more than what government is already spending. You don't.
No need for more capitation?
No.
Of the government?
Not much. Just like education. If you look at what we are already spending on education, and then scattering money and giving it to CDF, to give it to MPs bursary, governors are giving bursary, all those kind of funds. You put together and lump in the Ministry of Education, and get a percentage of that and give to governors to do infrastructure. You give free education. Free.
Before 2030?
Which is 2030? Next year. Kibaki just came in and he gave free education. It's not, there's nothing you need. You see, I don't know whether you get the point.
All right.
When it comes to health, we have the infrastructure and the human resource. Serious training, capacity, both quantitatively and qualitatively. So you can give free health tomorrow. Free. Just go to any government hospital, well-stocked, medicine, everything free. Dismantle KEMSA, which is a conduit for stealing. Just come and say, we are going to procure medicine direct from the big suppliers. Tier 1 pharmaceuticals. Hapa hakuna game, tier 1. Then they give us discounts as a country. In the meantime, we are saying progressively, and up to the next 5 years, we should produce up to 60% of pharmaceutical products in this country.
By ourselves?
Yes. And in 10 years, we should be only importing 10 or so percent of pharmaceutical, very critical things we need, which we cannot, because of certain factors.
Sure.
So these things Ruto can do, they are not, it's not rocket science. They don't even need time. They don't need even resources. So in short, if you look at the men of the problem, look at government. How much money do you need to dismantle this cabinet and come up with a cabinet that can deliver for the people of Kenya? It will cost you zero. Politically, there are no risks. If you tell all these boys and these men and women, go home, all of you.
The expatriates that were
No, I'm saying, including the so-called, all of the ministers or cabinet, tell them, please take a walk, go back home. What you have eaten is enough to keep you alive for the rest of your life. Bring on board people who can serve. There's no political risk. There is no financial cost. So the things that Ruto needs to do to be re-elected in 2027 with a landslide are within his reach. And they will cost him nothing. They will cost the government nothing. They will cost the treasury nothing.
What he lacks
but
is
what
the
we
will,
do, we listen to foreigners. We listen to busybodies, IMF, World Bank, and other globalists, all these fellows coming to experiment with Africans and Kenyans in particular.
You call it experimenting?
Yeah, of course. How many things are only being done in Kenya and the world? And some of them have been rejected everywhere, except we are accepting them. How many?
So Kenya is the dumping site?
Yeah. So you talk of employment. You are saying, what can he do? If the president tomorrow said, this country is not going to be a dumping ground for cheap products from China and the rest of these places. If he said that tomorrow, hakuna vitu takataka inaingia hapa Mombasa, hii vitu imejaa isili, duty free and fake, bidhaa gushi, these plastics and everything, these cheap electronics, kila kitu, hakuna kuingia Kenya. There are standards we are going to set like UK. For you to sell a phone in this country, it must meet these standards. For you to do this nguo, just that pronouncement against dumping in this country will create 500,000 jobs. The move towards pharmaceutical production will create another 200,000-300,000 jobs. The textile industry, no nguo kutoka nje, kuna mtumba. Within 5 years, you'll have created 1 million jobs.
Shutting down Gikomba?
Yes. You are pleasing a few people, but if you do that, in due course, you'll employ 1 million Kenyans. Through the textile, the chain. All from the planting of, growing of cotton and what have you, and ginnery and kila kitu. The chain, all of it. Leather industry. Hakuna ngombe inaenda nje ikiwa hai. Hakuna mbuzi inaenda ikiwa hai. Hakuna ngamia inaenda. You have first class slaughterhouses, whatever they are called in good English.
Abattoirs.
Yes. In northeastern. The leather industry, the livestock industry, specifically leather production for shoes and everything else, will create another 1 million jobs. And within 10 years in this country, we'll be looking for labor. We won't have enough labor. We'll be importing people to come and work here. So now these guys that don't want to think, they talk of taking boys and girls into slavery in the Middle East. we have a problem. And until Kenyans see we have a problem, we will sink.
We shall.
So that goes back to your question.
True.
Can we have an independent candidate? There is no hope for Kenyans through these established formations. ODM, UDA, Kenya Kwanza. There is no hope.
Wiper and all.
They don't have the courage to do what you need to do to transform Kenya. I remember when Raila was running against Uhuru, that was 2013. There was a very good presidential debate when people were seeing those things for the first time. With Abdu Badida entertaining us. Paul Mwita was there and so on and so forth. There's one thing they were asked, all of them. They were asked, first of all, Raila was asked on matters of land. I thought he was going to clear Uhuru. He could not punch. He and Orengo was the Minister of Land in the previous government. He was still Minister of Land. He had all information to floor Uhuru. But he chose to defend Uhuru. Because they are playing the same game, the same league. So that aside, they were asked a very serious question. Looking at this country and the Kenyan economy, what would you consider to be the minimum wage? Hey, wacha watu watape-tape. None of them is touching it. Raila, nothing. Nobody.
Not in touch with the reality?
They can't. They can't face that animal in the room. Because I thought Raila would just say, looking around this country and looking what other countries are paying around us and why Kenyans are going to South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, and so on and so forth. Looking at those economies and looking at our economy, looking at cost of living in this country, the price index, and so on and so forth. The minimum wage in this country at that time ought to be between 35 and 50. Today, the minimum wage in this country, the average low wages in this country, should be about $500. It's obvious. You don't need to be, it's a no-brainer.
Around 60,000 Kenya shillings.
Yeah.
Thereabout.
Yeah, 65,000 shillings. That's where we are. You don't need to be an economist or anything. You don't even need to take your pen. Anybody earning less than 60,000 in this country cannot survive. In Nairobi, for example, you can't survive.
Not sustainable?
How? Assuming you use only 100 shillings on fare, that's 2,500 already. Assuming when you are there, you eat only 100 shillings lunch.
Takes it
Where would you even get that 100? But let's assume. Assuming you eat meat in your house only 3 days in a month. Put the cost there. Assuming you live in a cheap place, and assuming your child goes to a normal primary school, not this group of schools, just normal, city council.
CDF sponsored.
It can't come anywhere less than 50,000. It can't. So they were skirting around it. They could not, because they are from a world that views life in terms of a few owning and the rest of us being modern slaves. So for people to understand this, they have to go to feudal societies, where in places like Russia and most of Europe, there was a king and his nobles, what you can now call his ministers and advisors. They owned everything in the country. The rest was serfs or tenants. So you are given a piece of land to till. What you kept some for your survival. The rest you gave to the landlord, the owners of the land. And then we moved away from that. Now the owners of the land now began also developing the land. You gave free labor. Paid labor came less than 300 years ago. What are we talking about? So that's where they have returned us now. And that's the mindset the current politician has. You know, I would die myself if I went to Kibera to look for votes. That day I would not sleep. That I'm begging people like Kibera people to give me votes to become an MP or a president.
The misery would haunt you?
Yes. Unless I have a clear plan of how to destroy and demolish those slums, I cannot go there and beg for votes. Because I will die at night. So the only way is to have a program of slum eradication. No this nonsense Kina Kibaki and Raila and Ruto have now. of saying you want to replace the slums in Nairobi, and you start with 1,000 houses or 800. You know, this country, we have a problem. How can you be thinking of slum, removing Kibra, and you start with 800 houses? You need 1 million years. Na watu bado nazana. Mungu amewabariki na watoto.
Mwenda pole hajikwai.
Hakuna. It's lack of thinking. So, the mindset of those in power is the feudal mindset. The Tsar in Russia and those around him and the rest are serfs, slaves. So they sleep comfortably.
Without a sense of shame.
No, they sleep comfortable. That is the ideology they have lived with. And the world view they have is a world where only a few own property. The rest are just slaves. So that a man is guarding you. Even when it's raining, he's outside your house. You pay him 12,000 shillings. Another man is plucking your tea in the village or somewhere in Kericho. In rain inanyesha na anatoa majani, you pay him 7,000 shillings. But your vet kuja kuangalia paka yako, he's on a retainer of 50,000. Kupitia tu, paka ako namna gani? Any issue? Na ako saa anaenda 50,000. You see, you will die if you have not protected yourself. And how do you protect yourself? You view these people as not human beings. Otherwise, you die if you viewed them as human beings. So that the day you are paying your worker, he's 12,000. Na umekata advance 3 ulimpa, unampa 9. The day you are giving him 9,000, you have entered with food for your dogs, worth 15,000 for that week. So they cannot change. And I don't know why we are expecting anything from these people.
Zero would come out of them in the fullness of time.
Zero. They cannot change. No country has ever changed through these progressive, so-called democratic processes. No country can change because the people in charge have a certain view, world view, where things are okay the way they are. Where 90% or 95% of the people are just slaves. And they have created a class of people who keep thinking they will change, the middle class. You see, they sustain this system, hoping one day they will get out of that. They will never. They don't know they are stuck there. They are the ones to give the false hope to others, including the slaves from everywhere else in Luombe, Vihiga, in the Kibera, that our children can one day, through education, become anything. Nothing. You can't break that.
It is not the key?
No. Which one? Which one? People have now accepted it's not. Because this is a system.
This is a teacher talking, huh?
Yeah, I understand the system. But that's why, back to what you say, if this country wants, for example, to change things in a peaceful manner, in a democratic manner, without a revolution, without any bad thing happening like it happens in other countries, they will need to look for an independent candidate.
Independent candidate.
Outside the established names, the people we know. Because those people think in the same manner. You need to bring someone like Manyora who thinks different, outside the box. Who within 7 days of being president, you know you are living in a different country. It's not Kenya you knew. 7 days. In fact, the first day after, if I am sworn in today on Tuesday, they swear in people on Tuesdays. By Wednesday lunchtime the following day, you will know Kenya has changed. Even when you walk, even the air you breathe, it will tell you the country has changed.
You won't need a second term in office to bring the change?
People will beat me if I say I'm not standing.
Really? Okay.
I'm telling you, I'm sworn in on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, my executive orders on my first morning in office, executive order number 1, number 2, number 3, up to 5, you know the country is not Kenya. This is a different country. We need another name for it. Every thief will be shaking.
Straight to committee, Shimo Latewa.
Oh, my friend. Those people in jail, I will remove all of them and put them through a reform program. If you are in Shimo Latewa, unless you are on capital and other offenses like murder and what have you, I'll take you out and create a deliberate program of reform while you are out, to mix, to fit back into society and to be a better member of society. And the prisons will be empty.
Zero jurispesa in your government.
Hakuna, it will be empty, and I will begin now taking in the thieves who have messed this country. Hao ndio watakaa huko. Wezi.
Very finally.
Na hiyo unaita
jurispesa. Haitakuwa.
I will sit down with the judiciary. All the judges of the High Court, the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal. I'll sit with them in State House. And I'll tell them, these are the games you play. This is your laziness. This is your lack of whatever. This is your good side. This is how much you do. This is how you have tried. But you are at 3 out of 10. Go back and tell me how you are going to move from 3 to 7 out of 10 in the next 1 week. We are meeting here, same day, same time. Breakfast is being prepared for you. Mkuje mniambie tu, hiyo kitu inaitwa backlog. Sitaki kuisikia. Tell me how a Kenya will get justice. Tell me how all corruption cases will be handled in 6 months, up to the highest appeal level. That's what you are bringing next week, not next month. Same time, same place, next week.
Without forming a task force to look into the issue.
There's no task force. Mwenye mufanye, you yourselves. I'm telling Kenya will change.
It remains to be seen.
I'm from the universities. I will declare all vacancies, all university positions of chancellors vacant, all of them. Anybody can apply. We even reduce the minimum required qualification.
They don't have to be from that local setup, ethnic, like Moi University rules and all.
International even. Anybody apply, and I'm the one who will interview you. When you are ready, come. If you think you want to be the Vice Chancellor of Nairobi until you come, I tell you, without departing from the mission of the university, which is to teach,
and
do research, and give service to community, which is the core mission, you don't interfere with that. How much money can you get? And therefore, at what point will you stop going to the exchequer for money? Because you are the people with the brains. When small people are queuing for salaries at the treasury, ministries to pay people, you are also queuing. When will you stop queuing for the treasury, for the government to pay your people? When will you create enough funds? Because you are the best brains in the country. And how much will it be? And when?
You will summon all the economic lecturers from the university.
I just want anybody who wants to be a vice chancellor. And the minimum I expect from the vice chancellor of Nairobi would be 50 billion income. 50 billion.
In a single financial year?
Yes, 50 billion. If you can't reach there, please just walk out. Take tea, toka hapa enda huko nje kwa tent, kunywa chai uende.
So it's the goodwill that lacks in this country.
Yes. So this country will be different. Even these big schools. Let's give you an example of Lenana High School.
Sure.
Lenana High School, my children went there. And therefore I can speak from authority. It had about 240 acres of that in the city of Nairobi. In the city of
Nairobi.
Children are paying fees. Poor children are being sent home and even stopping education from schools like those. In fact, there's an MP currently. Tulimchangia tukiwa wazazi. He remembers. He was with my son. He remembers. If you are the principal of Lenana, kama mzungu angekuwa hapo, hata watoto wangelipa fees kweli na hiyo shamba. Do you know the land of Lenana? You don't even need to do anything. If you just plant 50 acres trees and begin harvesting after, say, 10 years. If you plant 50 acres, dara, napier grass, and these Kikuyus with their pickup, unamwambia tu, unakata kutoka hapa mpaka pale, unawacha 2,000 na M-Pesa kwa hiyo account, kama hii citizen ya Ruto, na unapalilia. Kuja na mtu akupalilia. Ukate upalilia, ulipe 2,000. You know you not even charge a single student fees, for example. The rich will pay.
True.
The poor will have the school generating money to sustain them in school.
Absolutely.
It took a mzungu to bring that idea of starehe. That you can get a few rich people, pay so much money, and out of that you can educate the less fortunate in society. So those are the kind of ideas a president of Manyora will bring to revolutionize everything in the country. And in 5-10 years, you look and say, is this Kenya? The answer will be no. This is a different country. Yeah.
All right, there you have it from Herman Manyora, literally signaling that for anyone who aspires to go to the big seat, that is the presidential seat, to have middle name, his middle name or her middle name become big thinking. Until you do have this conversation again, do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Keep us engaged on our social media handles. I'm at Mwenja Richard on X and across every other social media account of mine. Get Professor Herman Manyora at H Manyora on X as well. Keep us engaged. Until then, have a good day.